who's leading? Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Olympic Region Clean Air Agency meeting for October 9th, 2024. I'm Jim Cooper, Chair. Let's do a round of introductions for the record. Greg.
Greg Brotherton, Jefferson County Commissioner and Vice Chair.
Joe.
Joan Cassie, Tumwater City Council.
Michael.
Michael Stead, Lacey City Council. I have to apologize. I have the hiccups. I've had them ever since, yesterday at 10 a.m. all through the night, everything. Council meeting yesterday. So I'm going to be muted because I'm just going to keep hiccuping.
Okay, cool. I'm just glad it wasn't since last month's meeting. Randy.
Randy Neville, Mason County Commission. Michael, pickle juice.
There you go.
Drink
Mike,
pickle juice. It's supposed to stop it.
You did okay, so that far. Mike French.
Mike French, Clown County Commissioner.
Okay, are there any other board members on that I haven't called on? Oh,
Dave
there's
Tobin,
Dave, sorry.
Pacific County Commissioner.
And Jill, I see you.
Jill Warney, I'm here. I'm driving. Sorry. I'll get back to my office shortly and then jump on from the desktop.
Thank you. We appreciate you getting in. Okay, I think, let's see, I'm just gonna go and why don't I go to Mike and have him introduce himself.
All right, well, I'm Mike Schultz, Compliance Manager, filling in for Jeff today. He's coming back from the NACA meeting on the East Coast. And I'll start with the management that's here. We have Lynn Harding, Finance, and going around, we have Odell Padley, Monitoring, and then we have Tiffany. She is a public records person who works with Debbie, and then we have Debbie Moody. The office manager, and then we're gonna swing it back around to, over here to Bryson, who's gonna do a presentation. He's an air quality specialist with the inspection team.
You want to introduce you? Oh, wait, you have at least one or two online, right?
We do.
Dan Nelson, Communications.
Sorry, Dan, left you out.
And I'm assuming that Margot is a member of the public.
Yeah.
Thank you. Great. So then, would you introduce your team?
Jeff Myers, Legal Counsel, and Captain Putchbush, an associate. Dean.
Okay. Have we missed anyone? All right. I need a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Motion
Oh, second.
presented.
We have a motion and a second. Is that clear enough for you?
No.
I have Greg as the motion. Who was the second?
Dave.
Dave is the second. Perfect. Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
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 Bye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, so quick, two items for the chair report today. Actually, Greg, do you have any finance report?
No finance report today.
Okay, thank you. The first one is the December board meeting. And so I just wanted to check in after talking to Jeff and Mike to prepare for this meeting. If folks are okay planning to skip the December board meeting, we are only required to do 10 meetings per year per our bylaws. Typically we do a summer and a winter meeting off. And right now it's looking like December can work, but Jeff wanted us to kind of hold it on the calendar in case there was anything that came up that we needed to deal with. And we can make that final decision in November. Is that okay with everyone? Okay, so it's looking like December will be off. Okay, so I want everybody to lean in for a second because I'm going to ask you to provide some input for a discussion, and I don't want to hear a pin drop after I leave a question on the table. I've been talking to Jeff and Mike a little bit about how can we engage the board ourselves more in the work of ORCAA so we have a better understanding at our own county level and have a better understanding of what is happening in other counties across the region. It's a pretty broad and complex set of work. And sometimes we glaze over things that could be really good discussions where we could learn from each other. And so in talking to Jeff and Mike, we wanted to throw out an idea of trying to do a county roundtable at least 6 of our meetings a year. So we have 6 member counties, and we'd like to have a deeper dive and a discussion about the work that's happening in each county that's led by you. And so we want to propose that 6 months out of the year, we have a county roundtable where the lead person from the county, either the county commission, and Thurston County will kind of work out how we do it between the cities and the county. But where we have a county commissioner lead a conversation with the staff team about what's going on in the county. Is there anything, hot topics that need to be addressed? And really we would, I think, brainstorm some questions that kind of spark or stimulate conversation and in that report. So it's not just a dry report, but kind of the idea would be Greg meets with staff, in between meetings before the meeting where we learn more about his county, and then he leads the presentation about what's going on with permitting in his county, a little deeper dive than we would normally get from engineering and compliance, and has the opportunity to bring up hot topics like biochar or whatever kind of things might be, growing in the county. If we in Grace Harbor County, we could talk about the pellet plant and the permitting and what's going on there, and all within what's able to be talked about in the public eye. And so wanted to throw that out and see what you thought, see if you have ideas for how that might work or places that you've seen kind of a change in how a board meeting works. The last thing I'll say, and I'll just leave it open, is we also think that may lead to changing how we do director reports. So if we do a deep dive in the county, maybe that is the high level part of the director reports, at least for the field side of the work. And so wanted to put those ideas out there, see if you're interested, and see if we can all work together to maybe reinvigorate our energy into this organization as a board. I said no pins and needles. Come on now. Great. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think it sounds like a great idea. It's, it's work, right? Work on the board members. And I think that's good for us to get our hands a little dirty. I mean, not literally, but figuratively. So it sounds like a great idea. I'd volunteer to be one of the first ones to give it a try.
Any other hands, thoughts?
I'm just gonna mute because I can't find the thing all of a sudden. Normally I can. Something's going on with my computer today. So again, as like Greg was saying, when the time comes when necessary, you already know you can call on me and we'll set something up also.
I don't want yes people though either. So is this a good idea, or is it you're fine with the way things are? Or do you have another idea? Yeah, that'd be great too. Go ahead, Stedman, then French.
I'm all for it, Jim. Maybe a workshop online with you guys and me, or even a couple other board members.
Mike?
I think it's a good idea. I think, we all probably have interesting things going on in our county that relate to air quality, and I think it'd be good to share information and learn from each other.
Randy? Oh, your hand's still up, Randy. I don't know if it's a new one or.
It's a new one. I finally found it.
Oh, cool.
So, to not be a yes person, I'm not sure that we need to do this as a regular thing, but I think it's a smart idea to have at least one in the general areas. It doesn't have to be set up specifically by any time, but it'd be nice to move one around once in a while and learn about the other communities and the other things that are happening there. It just probably doesn't have to be on a regular cycle. But again, I would step in to back you with whatever you're going to do, is what I was saying. Not necessarily that I feel that it has to happen, but it's not a bad idea. Just move around though.
Okay. Let's see. French, is your hand up again?
Yeah, on that point, 6 times a year seems like a lot. That's half our board meetings roughly. Maybe quarterly could be a start.
Okay. Yeah, we started thinking, well, let's do 2 per meeting, and then that felt like it could get long, and whoever went second would be missing out a little bit. But I think the smart thing to do would just be kind of informal and let it come about organically, put it on the calendar and see what you all come up with, and then we can evaluate it as we go through next year, but maybe not start until January either. Craig?
Yeah, I was just gonna say maybe a little white paper or template about what would be helpful. When I think about the reports that we go through every month, some context that grounds those reports into the very distinct areas that we have, that sticks out here, the more urban areas. I think the contrast in trying to explain the report from the context of our respective regions seems helpful to make the information we're already learning more resonant as well.
Yeah, that's a great comment. So I think that's actually what we left our conversation at, is that Mike and Jeff would work with the staff team to take this conversation and maybe turn it into a suggestion with some bullets about how we might go forward. And we can talk about it next month a little bit, and then Greg volunteered to go first in January. That's what I heard.
Yeah, and you're right, Jeff, Jeff and I will meet and we'll talk about this with Jim and then, yeah, some of the ways we thought is, you mentioned the reports, the compliance report is pretty thick with lots of data, but it's all the counties, and we could highlight the one county with the same information, but only one county, per those meetings, and potentially monitoring could do something similar. So it may not, necessarily affect finance or other groups, but definitely I think some of us that have stuff going on in your counties, we can meet with you ahead of time and say, these are some issues that, we have, and then we can work with you to kind of hone that in a little bit and have that what we talk about in the detail in the board meeting. And then the other data could still be there, but it would be not the highlighted data.
Sound good, everyone?
Jim, I have a question.
Go ahead, John.
Yeah. Did everyone who volunteered to be part of this a county commissioner?
No, there's the nuance of the 3 cities that are you and I and Michael Stedman. And so we'll need to massage how the Thurston County meeting would go, just so we can parse out a little bit of the difference. Yeah,
Because
that's.
I'm just wondering what value this is to my city to hear what's going on in every county. Or is this would be more so I would know more what's going on in my county? Because not being a county commissioner, I'm not possibly going to make application at what goes on at the county level. That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, I think we have to figure out what that means for the Thurston County piece of this, but just a quick conversation about learning from each other, and then also seeing where, I think a great example is what we all just went through for the outdoor burning law changes in the urban growth area. So it'd be kind of cool to do a report back after this burn season about how that played out, now that we're 2 years into that policy change. I think that would be a cool deep dive for the city, just as an example. Because all of our urban areas will be dealing with the things that we're dealing with now later.
No, I just didn't know if I needed to make a change and run for county commissioner to be able to stay on this board, or What did he? Just kidding.
Yeah, well, I mean,
If she leaves, I'm gone.
yeah, we gotta have the counties here, so however we need to do that, Joan.
No,
Just
I
kidding.
I like it. It's just fun. I'm just thinking of application of hearing from all the different counties back to, to my city council,
Yeah.
since I'm not a county person.
Right.
I
Thank
can
you.
definitely parcel out some information based for your city alone too. If we come down to, or 2 cities at a time. Just like I could the county, and we could highlight those on a meeting also to kind of rope the cities in that way, so.
I also just want to say out loud that we continually kind of talk, Jeff and I, about the inequity that's created by the 3 largest cities in the region being the only city board members and all of us being in the same county. So I think that that's just highlighted by this conversation to a point where, I kind of wonder at what point we ask the legislature to fix that, make it the 3, make it so they can't all be from the same county. So, okay, this has been a great discussion. We'll look forward to what Jeff and Mike and the team come up with as far as our first couple tries. And so I'm gonna just go ahead and say, let's do Greg, and then a couple months later, let's do Randy, and let's see how that plays out. And then we can decide who goes next, kind of maybe just pick the next one as we go. Does that sound good? That way we'll kind of be able to look at the schedule and fit people into the calendar.
We can just rank it by natural beauty. Keep going down the list.
Oh, there you go. Cool. So Jonah and Michael and I will go first, and then since we can see all of your counties from here. Okay, thank you. I really appreciate that. Let's go to public comment and just take a moment. Not to put you in the spot, Margot, but are you here to make a comment?
Yeah, so this is like very niche. I'm a University of Washington student in the design program. In my class, we're doing a group project where we're redesigning like industrial products and imagining them like 5 to 10 years out from now. So long story short, my group, we're focusing on air quality, specifically particulate matter managing on construction sites. So we were thinking not only talking to construction companies, but also people who like legislate and manage and regulate things regarding air quality, standards, I guess, and understanding what you're doing now to manage things and also like in the future and like future needs. So anyways, we could like make this more of like an in-depth conversation, but just getting in contact with somebody who might be more helpful to that.
I see like everybody around this table nodding their head and leaning into you, Margot. So I'm gonna go to board members first, and then I'll go to staff. Randy.
I'm not your most I don't know, tender-hearted person, but I gotta tell you, you rock. If there's anything we can do to help, that's where it's really gonna start with people like you that are gonna try and actually do something with it. I'm not sure how I can help you, but I'm down. If you need me, I'll get you my phone number. I'll put it on here, or just call in. They'll give you my personal cell. Help you however I can. I'll try and connect you with any representatives that we have contact with. I'm an independent, so I actually have access to both parties, which is interesting.
Cool.
But you keep doing what you're doing, and like I said, I'm not the most sweetheart of a guy, but I'm telling you, you're doing it right by stepping forward on this.
Thank you.
Any other thoughts before I go to staff? Okay, let's see. What do you think? What's the best way to engage?
We've received some emails, I believe, from you or some of your
Yeah.
work. We're aware of this, and Odell and Jay and I and Jen, I mean, we've got it. I think Odell's gonna kind of get you a response. We're more than happy to work with you. We'd like that. We haven't replied and set that up yet, but
they were more interested in regulatory stuff and controlling emissions from industrial sources and construction sites, which is not, that's why I passed it off to you. I do ambient air monitoring, so I thought maybe you and the engineers or the inspectors would be the people to handle it.
So yeah, we'll be getting back to you guys through the email, and we can set up a meeting and have a little forum and discuss, whether it's Zoom or in person, and yeah, kind of see more in depth of what you want and how we can help you. But we definitely got the notice, and we'll more than happy to work with you as we talked about before, that it's a great idea, it's great, and whatever we can do to help, we're happy to. So yeah, you guys will be hearing from us real soon.
Please
I just
include
have
my
one quick-
contact info.
Yes.
One quick question. Are you also reaching out to the other regulating agencies in the state and ecology and EPA on this project?
Yeah, we've reached out to them, but you guys were a little more responsive, you know, since it's been pretty early. Yeah.
Well, and our team might be able to help with those other regulatory connections with somebody that would actually be able to respond to you too, because we do that a lot. And I just have to say, this is awesome. Thank you for putting yourself out there and coming to a board meeting and asking this question, because you got all these elected officials in 6 counties excited about your project. And so now you're obligated to come back and tell us how it goes.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm just leaving my email in the chat. So if you want to contact me, feel
Perfect.
free to. Yeah.
Thank you, Margot. We really
Yeah.
appreciate you coming.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a good one.
Thanks.
Yeah, let's make smart. Let's do something about all that nuisance stuff.
Yeah. No, when we got the email, it's like, great, somebody wants to talk to us about this. We're happy to. So yeah, we're gonna work on setting stuff up.
Awesome. Giant Dyson air filter on your constructions.
Yeah.
Call the bag house.
A bag house.
Big fan. We're working on this.
All right, that was great to have public comment. So let's move on to our consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
Move for approval of our consent agenda.
I'll second.
Okay, a motion and a second. Are there any questions, comments, or polls? All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Aye.
Thank you.
Aye.
I'm taking that as an affirmative aye. Okay, so let's, we have our consent agenda approved, so we'll move on to presentations, and Bryson Downs is going to give us a presentation about asbestos and demolition program.
Yes, I believe Dan's going to be sharing the slides for me.
And while we're waiting for that, I'll just let you know, Bryson's been with us a couple of years, recently got promoted to an air quality specialist 2. He comes with a lot of asbestos experience. He's an asbestos certified surveyor, certified worker, and a certified supervisor. So he's got lots of good asbestos stuff. So if you can stump him with a question, bonus points.
You get the popcorn.
Okay, you have that up.
Dan, it's got a bunch of stuff around it. There you go. Perfect. Yeah. Okay.
Hey, Bryson, you're.
Well, again, my name is Bryson Downs. I'm the air quality specialist with ORCAA. I'm just going to be presenting ORCAA's asbestos and demolition program and kind of explain more why ORCAA regulates asbestos. Next slide, please. So asbestos consists of 6 regulated types of naturally occurring fibrous minerals. One form of asbestos, chrysotile, that makes up 95% of the asbestos found in building materials. The other 5 types of asbestos were mostly contaminants or used as filler. Because asbestos is a naturally occurring mineral, deposits of asbestos can be found all over the world in countries like Russia, Brazil, China, Canada, and in the US. Here in Washington, in Whatcom County, a landslide is periodically deposits asbestos fibers into a creek yearly based on weather. So it is a common mineral. Fibers can be extremely small and lightweight, taking hours or days to settle once airborne. Fibers can be as small as 1/10 of a micron or 1/10,000th millimeter wide. Put that into perspective, a human hair is about 70 microns wide, so it's much smaller than that. Asbestos is a known carcinogen with no safe level of exposure, and inhaling fibers can cause serious lung damage. Materials that contain more than 1% asbestos are considered asbestos-containing materials. Next slide, please. Different characteristics of asbestos made it extremely versatile, and it was used for hundreds of years. As heat resistance was used for insulation in ducting, pipes, and fireproofing, as well as some fireproof textiles. It was used in electrical panels and wire insulation because it doesn't conduct electricity. And its chemical resistance was used for diaphragms and gaskets in the chemical manufacturing industry. It has a high tensile strength, so it was added to added as a binding agent to products like vinyl flooring, plastics, cement products, and adhesives. Next slide, please. Asbestos can be found in many different building materials. Although usage has significantly decreased, it can still be found in newer building materials. It is still used in the US today, primarily in the chemical manufacturing industry as gaskets and diaphragms. The widespread use of asbestos in consumer goods and building materials increased public's risk of developing lung-related illnesses, even when not actively handling asbestos-containing materials. Next slide, please. Inhaling asbestos fibers can cause serious lung illnesses such as mesothelioma, asbestosis, and lung cancers. It can take up to 40 years to develop symptoms after initial exposure. The risk of developing lung illnesses increases with exposure. Symptoms can include shortness of breath, persistent cough, tight chest, swelling, and extreme fatigue. These illnesses have no known cure, and the only known treatment is a lung transplant. Due to the significant health risk asbestos poses to the public, regulations restricting its use began to be passed into law. Next slide, please. In 1971, the EPA listed asbestos as a hazardous air pollutant under the Federal Clean Air Act. And in 1973, the EPA promulgated the National Emission Standard for hazardous air pollutants and set emission standards for asbestos in manufacturing, application, renovations, and demolitions, and disposal. The asbestos niche applies to commercial and public buildings, and residential buildings with 4 dwelling units or less are excluded from those regulations. Asbestos usage peaked in 1973 with over 792,000 tons imported into the US. Between 1973 and 1978, NESHAP was amended to prohibit friable or crumbly pipe insulation and spray-on materials unless certain criteria were met. In 1986, Congress passed the Asbestos Hazard Emergency Response Act, or AHERA, requiring the EPA to develop training standards for inspectors, supervisors, and workers for asbestos projects in schools. Inspectors who have had this training are called AHERA building inspectors. 4 years later, Congress passed the Asbestos School Hazard Abatement Reauthorization Act, or ASHAR, which expanded the AHERA training requirements to include public and commercial schools. Next slide, please. In 1989, the EPA attempted to ban most asbestos products. However, go back, please. Yes. However, the original rule was overturned in 1971 and only prohibited corrugated paper, roll board, corrugated paper, specialty paper, flooring felt, and new commercial uses after 1989. Between 1989 and 2019, no significant changes were made to asbestos regulations in the US. The US even continued to mine asbestos until the last closed in California in 2002. In 2019, the EPA issued a rule under the Toxic Substance Control Act requiring a review of discontinued asbestos products before being reintroduced into the market. The rule included vinyl flooring, mastics, cement board, roofing, caulking, and all other building materials. In March of this year, the EPA issued a rule to ban and phase out known ongoing uses of versatile asbestos. This rule includes diaphragms used in the chlor-alkali industry, automotive friction products such as brakes and clutches, oil-filled brake blocks, and gaskets. Even with all of the different regulations restricting the use of asbestos, it is not fully banned in the US, and there is still a risk that it can be found in new materials today. Next slide, please. The most well-known asbestos regulations are focused on worker safety and public health. Other agencies have asbestos regulations for transportation, consumer goods, and pharmaceutical manufacturing. ORCAA's role with asbestos regulations is focused on protecting public health from asbestos emissions during renovations, demolitions, and disposal. Next slide, please. An asbestos survey must be obtained before demolition or renovation projects to verify the presence of asbestos. Demolition projects are projects that permanently demolish or remove load supporting structural members of the structure. The survey needs to be conducted by a certified AHERA building inspector. They have been trained to identify and sample suspect asbestos materials. For renovations, the homeowner may sample materials suspected of containing asbestos. The samples do need to be analyzed by the National Voluntary Laboratory Accreditation Program. ORCAA does need to be notified for demolition and asbestos projects. Any project that disturbs asbestos-containing material is considered an asbestos project. Demolition projects of structures 120 square feet or more require notification at least 14 days before the project starts. Asbestos projects involving at least 48 square feet or 10 linear feet for pipes require notification at least 10 days before the project. The notification period gives ORCAA time to review the notification, address potential concerns, request more information, or conduct an inspection of the project before they start. ORCAA may waive the waiting period or the notification period for certain emergency projects if written explanation and an additional fee is included with the notification. Next slide, please. On the left is an example of ORCAA's paper version of the homeowner asbestos notification form. An online form is available on ORCAA's website. The online form combines all asbestos and demolition notification forms into one, a bit easier. On the right is the notification fee schedule. The asbestos program is self-funded by notification fees determined yearly by the program load. Except for homeowner asbestos projects, asbestos notification fees do increase based on the size. Next slide, please. To prevent emissions from asbestos projects, only trained and certified or the owner of their own home may perform the work. Everyone working on an asbestos project must follow required asbestos handling procedures. Asbestos work must be conducted in a regulated area marked by barriers and signage to prevent others from entering the area and being exposed or trapping out asbestos. Asbestos materials need to be kept wet with a wetting agent or soapy water to prevent the fiber release. Adding soap to water decreases the surface tension and allows the water to penetrate and cover more surface area of the material. Workers must remove the asbestos material and handle waste containers with care. There must be no visible emissions of asbestos materials. Asbestos waste needs to be sealed and labeled in a leak-tight container. Industry standard for leak-tight containers is 2 layers of heavy-duty or 6 mil plastic. Labels do need to include the owner's name, the removal date, and the site address. Waste must be disposed of properly after disposal. Most local transfer stations do accept asbestos waste, but they may require at least 24 hours notice just to schedule and make sure somebody's there. And next slide, please. ORCAA offers various resources for asbestos projects, including do-it-yourself guidance for homeowners for asbestos projects, a list of asbestos service providers in ORCAA's area. The list includes asbestos contractors, hair inspectors, accredited laboratories, and disposal sites. Online notification forms are also available. Next slide, please. To carry out ORCAA's asbestos program, inspectors review notifications and surveys. We're looking for complete notification. Was a survey included in the notification? How much and what type of asbestos materials will be removed? Inspectors provide education and assistance by discussing ORCAA's asbestos program with both the public and industry professionals. Inspectors receive and investigate complaints. Complaints may lead to inspections, a inspection of projects. Complaints can be submitted by phone, email, or online. Inspectors assist other agencies such as local building officials, Washington State Department of Labor Industries for different asbestos cases or different questions relating to asbestos. When conducting inspections, inspectors are looking for trained workers, removal procedures, any visible emissions, and the disposal of the asbestos materials. If violations are found, inspectors can enforce issuing notices of violation or other appropriate enforcement actions. The next slide. And so far this year, from January to the end of September 2024, ORCAA has received about 394 asbestos notifications for over 342,000 square feet of asbestos material removed. We received 298 demolition notifications, responded to 54 asbestos complaints, and issued 27 notices of violation. Any questions? It's a lot of information in there.
Yeah, thank you, Brian. It was a lot. Let's see if there's questions popping up from the board. I definitely have one or two. Greg.
Yeah, thanks, Bryson. Great presentation. I guess my most fundamental question might be for Mr. Myers, actually. I'm just curious with kind of the end of the Chevron deference and so much of this regulation on asbestos coming from a national level. Are we going to see more asbestos coming out now or in building materials? What's going to be the impact, the downstream impacts for our state regulations of this?
That's a great question, and I don't know particularly how Chevron deference is going to play out in the asbestos context. I suspect that the regulations which have been on the books for such a long time are established law, and it would be difficult to overturn them, even with Chevron deference being I think there, the Toxic Substances Control Act that directs regulation of asbestos, I think is a express authority for EPA and the states to regulate those things. And Clean Air Act at a state level certainly contains that authority. So I don't think that the Chevron deference repeals undermine the validity of our regulations.
That's good to hear. Thank you. And my other question was just clarification. I thought you said there was 3 microns thick, but the slide said 70. How thick is hair?
Oh,
The thickness of a hair?
70 microns. Did I say 3?
70 microns. I don't know. Maybe I just misheard. Okay. 70 microns.
Yeah, 70
Great.
microns.
Thank you.
On it.
Great presentation.
And we got the slides, right? The
Yeah, the slide. Yeah.
Okay, so slides are in the packet, and there's a great picture in that slide, Greg, if you want to like do your own comparison from your head. Other questions from the board? Okay, well, President, I'm just curious about how that volume compares to years. You've been here a while. Are we seeing stable volume? Is it going up? Is it going down?
I haven't looked at that quite yet, but I can get that information.
from a budget standpoint, taking in the dollar fees, been pretty constant. I think we are seeing more complaints because people are becoming more aware of ORCAA and the asbestos is under our. We've done I think a good job of continue to educate the counties and cities building departments who see these demos most often, and so they're getting better at notifying us if there's a problem. So I think the complaints and the violations are probably increasing. That doesn't mean there's more asbestos out there. It just means that the awareness of asbestos, I think, is getting better, and they also know that there's a source, a resource they can come to, because our violations have ticked up.
My motivation for that question is in my experience that when asbestos and demolition are going up, the economy is kind of moving in the upward direction versus when they're going down. It's kind of a precursor to economic downturns.
Yeah, and anecdotally, I can definitely say we've seen that a couple of years ago when people weren't building, and they weren't remodeling, cost of stuff was expensive, but we didn't get as many permits to tear things down. We also see it seasonally and throughout the year. Come springtime and summer, there's a lot more buildings, so there's a lot more tearing down old buildings and remodeling, so we see the uptick in the amount of permits during that part of the year.
What's the most common type of violation that you guys are seeing?
It's more administrative, so not the actual asbestos emissions violations, but it is more paperwork violation, either not submitting a notification or obtaining a survey beforehand.
I'm gonna take a second to go further with that, because we got all the commissioners and some of the city people here. Many people go to the county or the city and they get a demo permit from the county or city because they require it. They don't realize that ORCAA also requires one, a separate demo permit. And that's where we see a lot of these. They say, hey, I went to the county and they told me, hey, here's a permit for a demo. I didn't know anything else about it. And most of the counties and cities have something on the permit, but that's generally, they think, oh, I got one permit, I don't need another. And that's the one bridge, the hardest bridge for us to cross, is to let the public know that that city or county permit for demo or renovation is not all encompassing. They still need to do, or talk to ORCAA.
Are the people who are getting the city permits treating the asbestos properly, even though they're not coming to ORCAA for an ORCAA permit? Or does that lead to a sort of a cascade of the handling violation, the disposal violation, the failure to survey, all those different kinds of things?
It definitely can. There are some cases where we can't determine yes or no, something did happen, as far as suspicions. But yes, that it can cause a cascading effect if no survey was done. Yeah, when you find asbestos.
Definitely think the not getting the permit doesn't give them the education they need. Or I guess I say permit, I should say notification. Years ago, we called them permits. Now they're notifications. So I would agree with what Jeff, you're saying that, and what Bryson said, but I think it goes further is that if we don't, the process of the notification is basically to educate the people taking care of the material, because if they get that, there's a list of conditions on it that if they follow, they probably will not have a violation. If they do not get that notification, most of them end up not doing the right thing, and we have asbestos contamination in the area and over them. So I think to go a little deeper to your answer, yes, without that notification, there are more violations and generally more exposure.
How much of that volume is like a residential homeowner versus commercial and contractor, roughly?
That's a good question, and I couldn't really, well, again, homeowners can only do their structure, their residence. Anything commercial or duplexes and fourplexes, they have to be done by a certified asbestos contractor. So if you take all of those out and just talk about the homeowner structures, a lot of homeowners do them. I couldn't tell you the percentage, but a lot of homeowners will do their own, because it's an expensive thing. You can't, hire a contractor to remove flooring or sheetrock or popcorn ceiling in your house without it costing over $1,000 or more dollars.
No, that's actually why I was asking that question, because I have popcorn ceilings and I've not ever heard that there's a route where I could go on my own and learn and do. So I think that's awesome, but also like a huge educational need to be able to get people in the right place to do that.
There is, and I guess on the record, I would encourage people who have popcorn ceiling to seek out a contract if you can. That's one of the most difficult types of asbestos for a homeowner to remove, because it's difficult to keep it all contained, to keep it wet. It is allowed by the rules, but we do have some guidance that Dan has put on our website for that. But we try to, if it's popcorn ceiling, we try to encourage them to at least seek out professional help and see, if they can do that, great. But we realize cost is an issue.
That's really good advice. I'm glad you said that on the record.
Yes.
Dan?
Yeah, I just wanted to chime in and give props where they're due, that a lot of our cities and counties do actually require documentation of ORCAA notification before they issue their demolition permits. So it's not all doom and gloom in your counties and cities. There is a lot of good work being done, and we appreciate that. And we continue to reach out to those planning and development departments to make sure that continues and expands to all of our cities. So like I said, the counties generally do a pretty good job, and the cities are doing a good job. It's just some of the smaller departments with fewer staff, they don't have it on their forms. But yeah, we do have a lot of cooperation from your jurisdiction. So we appreciate that and look forward to continuing expanding that.
Thanks for that, Dan. I think that's where we concluded our conversation when we were prepping for the meeting. Was this a constant reminder that we're doing pretty good, but especially when you're out talking to the smaller communities and the smaller jurisdictions in your roles, like make sure you tell them you're an ORCAA board member and check in and just see if their development team is aware that they need to be working, people need to be working through ORCAA for asbestos and demolition. We can help them with, fire conversations and some of those things as well. Not a proposal for today, but our conversation ended with, boy, it'd be kind of cool if we had ORCAA type educational webinar or conference for the peninsula, where we're trying to get local government regulators and developers and homeowners to come and learn about what we do and where the regulations lie. It might be kind of a cool thing if we could figure out a way to do it without overtaxing our staff team. So that's why it's not a proposal for today. Okay, keep up the great work. Thank you, Bryce. Yeah. Okay. That takes us to compliance, Mike.
All right. Well, again, I'm just gonna go with some general highlights, because on September 26th, believe it or not, there's the National Compliance Worker Appreciation Day. And for that week, we celebrated here. We had the compliance, which was the engineers and the inspectors and staff that helps us. We compliment them and appreciate them, the administrative staff. So that National Compliance Worker Appreciation Day, we dug up some numbers, right? And I won't go over all of them because Bryce actually covered some of them. But this is just from January 1st to September 26th. So Bryce's numbers are a little bit bigger because we had some at the end of the month of September. But just to let you know what the compliance team does, 537 complaints were received and dealt with. He mentioned the asbestos notification. 137 NOVs were written during those 9 months. 33 permits were completed. And, those were notice of constructions that get completed for the businesses to expand and or start up. We conducted 80 facility emission inventories, basically the largest 80 for the most part. There's a few small ones. Our staff will get all the emissions that they generate and then put them together, and then we report that to ecology. 80 of them is quite a bit. It's but only about 10, maybe 12% of our sources, but definitely the largest 80 or close to it. We established 46 new permitting contacts that, might be businesses that have or are looking at putting in emission control devices like scrubbers, paint booths, boilers, anything like that. So 46 of those. The staff, the compliance team did 342 source site visits. So if you figure 9 months, that's why we have the staff we have, and there's still ones that don't get visited, but 342 source site visits through our 6 counties is quite a bit. So they're out there hustling. And because of those source site visits, that also means reports, inspection reports, facility quarterly reports, and they looked at 280, well, not looked at, they wrote 284 reports based on those site visits. And of those reports, they have to be reviewed by another staff member or upper management. So you can basically double that number when you look at what's been reviewed. So some quick numbers that show, kind of highlight the importance and the hard work that the compliance team does. And my hats are off to them. They do a great job. We tried to feed them with pizza one of those days, then we had donuts and fruits and other days, and trying to keep them, fed and happy until next year when it comes around. I don't know if it'll last that long, but yeah, they do a great job. And again, the support staff, administration staff helps tremendously. They are as much compliance as anybody else too. So that's kind of the highlight. I won't go into a whole lot of the other things, because I spent time on that, other than that we do have a job posting for an air quality specialist. I mentioned back a couple months ago, Nancy Wood-Sigmund, one of our air quality specialist 3s, is resigning as of December 20th. So we've got a posting out there that hopefully, and we've already started getting applications, and we're getting some good ones coming in. So hopefully we'll have a good pool to pick from. Our supervisor we hired 3-4 months back has been certified as a HERA building inspector, but so he knows about the asbestos sampling now. The engineers have been busy doing some AOP inspections, so those are the large inspections. And they've actually attended some SEPA training and some back training. And with the SEPA training, some of your county and city folks, we might be asking some questions there because we learned some stuff that perhaps a lot of entities did not know about, or that's included. So since that training, I know we've been in contact with the Pacific County DCD people, planners, to talk about some SEPA stuff. We've also been in contact with, I want to say perhaps Port Angeles and a few other cities. So that was really good training that kind of brought to the forefront of some stuff that we are supposed to be doing, and it was put on by college. So that's a quick highlight. I'm happy now or later to discuss anything in the report. Any questions you might have, just let me know.
Okay. Engineering and compliance questions. Okay, I love the snapshot. Nice to have that on top.
Lot of numbers.
Thanks for doing that. Okay, then we'll move on to compliance or monitoring.
Thanks, Dan. Other screen. Presentation.
There you go.
Oh, we've been through this.
I know, that's why when I said the PowerPoint and not the PDF, he groaned at me.
It'd be nice if it were.
There we go, thank you. So yeah, our air monitoring report for September 2024, summary, and next slide. So this is our new view of our, you missed it. Oh, yeah, sorry, Jim missed it last month. So we've updated, or I updated the way that we look and summarize the air quality reports for each site. So each color square represents a day, the daily average, which is the AQI is based on for a 24-hour exposure. The darker green, on your computer, you can see this better. On this one, it's not quite as clear. And so you'll see, if you're really good, there's a slightly lighter green color that is the 5 to 9.
So one of those posters.
Yeah, exactly. And then I've split the moderate category into 2 groups as well to sort of represent where we exceeded the 20 micrograms per meter cube. That used to be the ORCAA switch over to unhealthy for sensitive groups. But we have adopted the national AQI standard to make it easier a couple of years ago. Some of you may remember that. So here I just kind of split that into two, so you can kind of see a little bit more definition of what we're getting. So I just want to point out that you'll see almost all of our sites except for Chesapeake registered moderate air quality on the 6th and 7th of September. So that was a region-wide event. This is also a good opportunity to point out how we do data validation. So you'll notice that Port Angeles is slightly grayed out. There's like a gray bar around it. Well, we collected data all month. And then on September 3rd, the QC failed. That's the quality check that we do every 2 weeks. And I had been traveling and missed the fact that it had also failed on September 9th. Because of this failure, the data have to be invalidated after the fact. The failure was, I think, at 13%, and the tolerance is 10%. So it wasn't a dramatic failure, and the data are still interesting. They're not that far off, but you will notice, maybe you can, that there are a lot more light green in the Port Angeles data than dark green, and that's probably because the monitor was reading a little bit high that month. So we did collect that data. It's there, but it will be invalidated after the fact. So when people go back to access the data again, it will be removed because it's not valid data. And then just coincidentally, the data logger died. So there was a lot of problems at that site, and we basically lost it with the data there. So that's kind of how that works. So you can collect data for a whole month. You can have it there. It gives the public information. And then after the fact, we can find out, oh, that monitor wasn't quite working to spec and we have to invalidate it. So next slide. So I mentioned the 6th and the 7th, and I just wanted to point out this. This is September 6th. You can see there was a lot of smoke in the air, and some of that was drifting down just to get moderate, but you will see that there was a lot more smoke at elevation. So we did see quite a bit of smoke in the skies. And if you hit enter, Dan, you'll see the 7th as well. And that was the 7th. So you can still see there was clouds coming in, and you see that system off the coast pushing in, and that's going to clear all the air out. So by the 8th, we're back down into the green, but that's what that looks like. Satellite imagery. And so that was smoke from Oregon and Central Washington fire. Next slide. September is, oh, I apologize. I forgot to change the August 2024 to September 2024. Some of my quality control people did. I know you weren't there. If Debbie had been here, she would have caught that. So that August should be September 2024. And you can see that in the dates down below, the 9/26. So this is our two, so instead of showing our two ozone analyzers at Lacey, this time I chose to show Lacey and then the Chesapeake ozone, just to show how the ozone concentrations vary regionally, and then there's also some more very local effects. So you can see that the Chesapeake kind of follows the Lacey, but it doesn't drop down to 0 at night the way that the Lacey does. And that is because of daytime and nighttime chemistry, where we have a lot more pollution in Lacey than we do at Chesapeake, and that pollution reacts with the ozone at night, and it basically scrubs it out. And so you'll see in urban areas where you have other pollutants that scrub the ozone, your concentrations will drop to 0 at night, whereas in rural areas where it's pretty clean, your ozone kind of stays more level. So I just kind of wanted to point that out. I thought that was interesting. But then you can see the region-wide impacts or changes in ozone concentration that are similar to both sites. And once again, the red line is our NAAQS, so we're nowhere near the NAAQS in our sites, or at either of our ozone sites. So the NAAQS is the National Ambient Air Quality Standard. So we're doing good. Next slide. And then just the last monitoring highlights for September. We did one Chesapeake site visit. Still waiting to hear about our power status updates, but as of now, we still have power and we're still collecting data. So yay. And just doing some catching up on reports. We're also creating a memorandum of agreement with the Makah tribe for Chesapeake operations. It was brought to both of our attention that we haven't had an active or binding memorandum of agreement for operating at that site since 2012. And both the Makah tribe representative and us thought, we should really have this. So we are working on that, and I think it will be sent off to Jeff So the McCaw drafted it, we've made some changes, we'll do some back and forth, and hopefully we can get that validated pretty soon. I gave a presentation on ozone measurement biases to the Region 10 Air Monitoring Group. So there's been recent questions regarding how our ozone analyzers respond when there's a lot of wildfire smoke in the air, and some of the data indicate, where did my presentation go? Yeah?
Dan's done.
Can you bring it back, please? Thank you. There have been some questions regarding ozone analyzers and how they respond under when there's a lot of wildfire smoke. And so that's an ongoing area of research and possible changes to ozone operating procedures. So kind of interesting new developments there. And then just ozone audit with ecology at Lacey, did our regular maintenance there. And we've been working on creating an air sensor data use policy for all of the new air sensors that are getting popped up. And so we want to have some kind of policy as to how we'll use that data and how we won't use the data. So that will be coming in the next couple months. I hope we can get that finalized. Thanks, Dan.
I like the new picture.
Yeah, thanks.
Questions for Odell? Okay. Communication.
Yeah, and sorry about that glitch. For some reason, Microsoft decided to
Shut me up.
boot or something PowerPoint. So PowerPoint, I was afraid I lost all of Zoom. So fortunately, that didn't happen. So let me see if I can. Okay, and now it won't. And Zoom is not allowing me to share anymore. So communications report, briefly, we have one more community outreach event. Props to Greg and his communities. Jefferson County has been stellar in inviting us and getting us involved in the communities up in Jefferson County. I think this will be the fourth time I've been up there in 2024 at a public event. So the East Jefferson Fire and Rescue Group is having their annual Fire and Rescue Fest. I called it Fire Fest and got made fun of going to a burning event. But this coming Saturday, I'll be up in Port Townsend representing ORCAA and sharing information about our programs with the community there. We also participated in some meetings with the Thurston Climate Mitigation Collaborative the past couple weeks. And in that meeting, we also worked with Energize Olympia and had some really good collaborative sessions. I think we will have some good partnerships moving forward on our wood stove program and promoting our.
Good morning and welcome to the December 13th, 2023 meeting of the Olympic Region.
Okay, something weird is happening here.
Good voice.
In front of us, but let's go ahead.
I apologize. I don't know what's going on. So Zoom is zooming out. It pulled up last month's meeting. So the outdoor burning season did start October 1st in most of our counties. I think Grace Harbor and Mason was a day or so later after DNR reduced their burn risk assessment to low instead of moderate. But as of today, all counties are open for residential outdoor burning as well as land clearing burning. We have about 1,064 permits on file as of October 1 for Thurston and Fire District 12 in Grace Harbor County. I'm also working with the Shelton School District. I met with them last Thursday to get out into their science programs for junior high and high school science teams. And we have in hand a purple air monitoring sensor to provide to the Shelton High School. The students are going to work with the administration there and place that and use that in class as a device for their air quality curriculum in their science programs going forward. So, and we look forward to expanding that. And then on our wood stove reduction grant, again, we're moving forward. We've completed just in the past 3 months, or the first quarter of fiscal year 25, we did 25 jobs in 5 counties, including 6 replacements with heat pumps, 3 replacements with natural gas or propane, and 1 pellet stove. And we just certified destruction of over 15 stoves in the recycling award. So that's what I've got for you. Any questions on that?
Questions for Dan? Greg?
Yeah, thanks, Dan. Not a question, just a comment. Just that I've heard in like 2 or 3 different meetings about the job postings for that are open right now. So just kudos on getting the word out there, because people are aware.
Good to hear.
Very cool. Anything else for Dan? Okay. Thank you, sir. Good adapting to glitches. Finance.
All right, well, good morning, everyone. I have a short report for y'all. So in the finance area, so ORCAA has an agreement with Municipal Research Services Center to access and utilize their small works rosters, their consulting rosters, and not yet their vendor rosters. So staff will be bringing back to the November board meeting a resolution that we will be appending the previous resolution to add the vendor roster access with MRSC. So currently, as it stands, we currently have an agreement with MRSC for the small works and the consultant. We are not going to come back to you and just add the third roster. It'll just give ORCAA more options. It'll be simple and quick and easy. We've also completed our first quarter of fiscal year 2025. Hard to believe that October is here. A little confusing with the lovely weather, sunny and rain.
4th summer.
Isn't that something? Yeah, exactly. So we'll be bringing that to the finance committee in November. And of course, the finance committee will bring it back to the full board as well. Reminder, there's a finance committee in November on, November 8th, I believe. Sorry, I don't have 13th. But there we go, November 13th. It will start at 8:30 and go till 10. So I hope you can all make it. And if you can't, please let us know. Be an important meeting because we'll be covering a number of agenda items. Building operations and maintenance. So ORCAA has started advertising the part-time maintenance technician. Hopefully that's one of those you're seeing up there, Greg. Last week we started advertising. The position is going to provide routine maintenance. It's going to assist also in the tenant turnovers. The position is included in the fiscal year 2025 budget. So no alarms there. So please share that job openings with any and all in your jurisdictions. We'd sure appreciate it. In our tenant community, we are fully occupied. All 7 suites are full. However, I did indicate last month that we did receive word that one of our tenants in tenant community is moving out in December. It's a space of about 1,100 square feet, renting for about $1,500 a month. It's a sweet deal, great location, nice and quiet. So again, please send any folks that you know looking for space, let them know and send them my way, please. We have it advertised in various areas, including our website. There's pictures and contact information, and we'd appreciate any sharing. Are you looking for space, Mr.?
No, I was just commenting that that's better than rent you can get on that square footage for sleeping, so.
Oh, yeah, well, in the lease, it does say no residential living. Thank you for pointing that out. And you're right, it is. So for, let's see, our wellness, I always have to include a note on our activities here. The ORCAA Wellness Committee has a lot of activities planned over the next few months. And, we're offering the healthy options, which are important because it builds healthier lifestyles. We want that. And the committee is currently offering a walking challenge through the month of October. The majority of staff are participating. We're also looking at participating in the earthquake awareness, which I'm sure all your jurisdictions are also in aware of. We have our mental health awareness. There's a National Mental Health Awareness Day. That's this Thursday, October 10th. So I'm sure you're all on board with that. It's really important that you provide and share resources to your staff. Let them know that you're not alone. There are a lot of resources out there. We're also working with our safety committee, offering workplace safety training and a host of other activities. So I'd like to call out our stellar wellness committee members. We have Aaron Manley, we have Aiden Palm, and Chris Kraus and myself. So it takes a team to bring these activities and important aspects, build a healthier environment, happier employees, hopefully. And so, and then just the last thing I'd like to share with y'all that, yes, I'm retiring in April of next year. And, you know, it's been a long journey with ORCAA, almost 21 years and almost 41 years with local government. It's time to build a new chapter, do some relaxation, look for new adventures. So looking forward to it. So you'll see me around for a while. And all righty then. Thank you all. That's my report. If you have any questions?
She's about to drop the mic and go home.
Excuse me. So thank you all.
I only joke because you've earned it.
Oh.
This has been a great contribution to the public sector. I'm proud of your work.
And I
It's a
think
really great department.
Thank you.
And we'll say more.
Thank you.
Craig.
Yeah, you know, happy for you. Sorry for us, but really, I wanted to ask. So, is ORCAA participating in the Great Shakeout on the 17th
Yes,
of
sir.
October at
Yes,
10:17? Okay, great. Everyone
Exactly.
should, you know, get under your desk for 10:17. Just don't fall asleep.
That's right. Thank you.
Okay.
I can't sit under my desk.
Find the doorway.
There's gonna be a finance position here and they have a bigger office, Randy. I'm just kidding.
Come on down.
Okay, well, I think this retirement is a symbol of the great work we've been doing to lay the foundation for the transition. Stepped up the places we need with Jeff's leadership and the new team, and the kind of changes are kicking butt to a place where I'll echo Greg, like it's sad for us, but I think the organization is in a really good
Good
place.
position.
And
Definitely.
you're part of it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'd just like to say congratulations, Lynn. So known you a lot of years and
Yeah,
you
thank you, Michael.
rock at everything you do. So good for you.
Thank you.
Okay. With that news, let's go to the executive director.
And I'm filling in for Jeff. I will channel my inner Jeff with some Mike, you know, kind of twisted in there. Jeff left me some notes. He's probably on a plane right now or soon. He's at the fall meeting of the NACA, National Association of Clean Air Agencies in Virginia. So in his absence, the notes he's given me starts out with Lynn. As you heard, she's retiring April 30th. And as she mentioned, lots of years, 22 years, about 40 years. And as Jeff says, there'll be lots of time here in the next 6 months to recognize her contributions. So today, Jeff wanted to say that moving forward, so you're not forgotten, but we'll get to those things down the line in March and April. But he's gonna be looking for the next financial service manager. It's gonna be a top priority for Jeff in the coming weeks and months. He hopes to have a position posted by the end of this week for that financial service manager. So at that point, we'll have 3 postings up. The recruitment, he's gonna run for 4 weeks. Hopefully review applications in November with the goal of hiring somebody, making an offer in December with hopefully a start date 1st of January. This will give the person 3 months of overlap with Lynn to learn everything that she has, that she can give them in 3 months. That will potentially have Lynn and Jeff coming to discuss budget implications for the rest of fiscal year. And that'll be discussed in November's finance committee meeting. So Jeff is on top of it, working hard, and we're going to try to get that person on board 1st of January. Jeff also wants to thank Odell Hadley and Jay, our inspection supervisor, Jay Carney, for their assistance in helping the agency move forward on electrifying the vehicle fleet. Odell's been working with Puget Sound Energy and others to about installing an EV charger at the back of the building. And Jay's doing research on which EV model and which vehicle best fit our needs. So Jeff is pushing it forward, but can't do it without the help of Odell and Jay. So kudos to them, and hopefully in the near future, we'll have a new vehicle and it'll be electric. The last thing he wanted to just mention real quick is that referring to the SSB bill 6121, it's been passed. It's basically the flame cap kiln discussion, and that passing of that, ecology's got to adopt some rules regarding that and change the outdoor burning. They're going to have a work group. They've said that they haven't started it yet. So we just wanted to put out there that there's no word yet from ecology on where that's going to fall in their priority, to basically make their rules match up with this, bill 6121. But Jeff is watching it closely and hoping that we're going to get an ORCAA representative on that work group to help facilitate that rule change. With that, that's my inner Jeff, and I'm open to try to answer questions or pass them on to Jeff if I can answer it.
Pretty good. You didn't even try to change anything while he was gone.
Well, those we're not saying.
Oh, okay.
He can find himself.
Randy.
Interesting news to say the least for me. We all know how I feel about finances and the fact that we'll have to start to do work again. I got pretty lazy because when you have somebody that's as spectacular as what we've dealt with, and you could trust every number you got, that meant a lot. I just wanted to make the comment that we're all going to be responsible to pick up again and learn how to do this with somebody else, and it's a sad day for me. If I'm still here after this election, it's going to be a lot of extra work for me too.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Okay, I think that's our reports. Anything for the good of the order? Anything exciting or not? Okay, well, good job standing in for the executive director, you and the team. I know it was a team effort. Always a great meeting. So Jeff can feel comfortable traveling when he needs to for work. So that's good. Okay, anything else? With that, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Take care.
See you later.
Have a good week.
Good month, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Hi, everybody.